Good morning. Such is the nature of life that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. You are that opportunity, and so am I, and so it is. Welcome to CSL Midtown. We are coming to you this morning from Atlanta, Georgia, and we're so glad that you have joined us today. And we welcome everyone, no matter who you are or where you are in your life. We welcome everyone who's listening online, either live now or on our recording. Our center is diverse and beautiful, and it represents the way life is. So we welcome you, whoever you are and whatever path brought you to be here today. We know that you are an individual expression of the divine life in which we all live and have our part. You're welcome to participate here today and to become part of this community. And we hope that if you're watching this broadcast, that you would share it on Facebook or YouTube if you feel so moved. For a better understanding of who we are and what we teach, listen now to our Declaration of Principles as written by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes.
A few of the Declaration of Principles we live by.
I believe in one God, one absolute power, and first cause to all things.
I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love.
I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience.
I believe in the unity of all life, and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding.
I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all.
And so it is.
So grateful. Hey. All right. It's the wonders of technology there. My name is Judy Ailey, and I am the moderator and practitioner for today's service. And today we are continuing with our monthly theme of sticking the landing. This week's theme is flowing ground, and today's affirmation is, I swim in the flow of consciousness, sowing good wherever I go. You know, we've been talking about the grand rising all during this year. And, today we are talking about landing with our feet on the ground as we are grounded in this timeless teaching. And we're also talking about flow and the ever-changing world in which we live. And, when we look around at our world, it appears to be really solid. This desk that I'm sitting at is wood and it's solid. This computer is solid. This home that I'm living in is solid. But really, the world is not very solid at all. What we see around us may appear that way, but it is really a flow of atoms and subatomic particles in constant motion. The other thing we know, even in the appearance of things being solid, is that there is constant change. And in this teaching, we know that we can change what appears to be solid reality that we are dealing with by changing our thoughts. We learn here that thoughts are things, and that the things that we see in the world are things that are thought in form. Change the thought, change the thing. We also know that this infinite presence that we call spirit or God or whatever is greater than the appearance of anything in the world. We tap into the infinite present by making ourselves available to it with our tools of meditation, our tools of visioning, of spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. The ground is not solid. All of this that we see around us is very fluid. It can change. What we see around us is truly a reflection of our thoughts, our beliefs, what's in our heart. So we talk here a lot about changing our thoughts. We can move beyond what appears to be solid. We can break free from the old structures and paradigms and create something new. Sometimes we get caught up in a fight with the appearance of something we don't like. But let's stop fighting what are the appearance of the existing conditions. We definitely can say no to what we don't want, but I think it's time to start saying yes to what we do want. Name what you want. The loving power of good is unlimited in what it can express. This principle is not bound by precedent, which means that it doesn't care what's gone before. We aren't limited by our old stuff. The trick is not to fight the existing conditions that you may be dealing with, but instead, we shift our consciousness. We shift our hearts and our minds to something new. If we have faith in the new, it will manifest. Name what you want, then let go of how it's going to happen. I love looking at things around me and realizing that they are all fluid, and that the reason they appear solid in the form that they are in is because of my thoughts and my beliefs and my expectations and what's in my heart. So today, let's get clear that we can have what we want. Let's name what we want, whatever that is, whether it's vibrant health, perfect love in our lives, fabulous abundance of every good thing, new creative ideas, perfect work to express our unique talents and abilities, and to be compensated well. Whatever it is, name it, and know that what you are looking at now in your life is fluid and moving. It's just a bunch of cells, subatomic particles that can rearrange themselves as we allow the power of good to flow through our lives, as we change our minds about what we think is even possible. So, with that thought, with the fluidity of all of life, with the possibility of great things to experience new, please join me in the spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, and this will be followed by music for reflection. So let's just take a few moments to get kind of settled in where we are right here and right now, and allow ourselves to breathe and to bring our awareness and our presence to this moment right here and right now. And as we do this, we recognize and know, and please know that I'm going to do a lot of this in the first person, but accept it for yourself. I know that I am immersed and in contact and a part of this universal presence of life. And this universal presence is everywhere. It is in me, it's around me, it's through me, it's in everything that I see in the world, in what appears to be the solid reality of things. And as I know that I am one with this power for good that can accomplish unlimited things, unlimited goodness of every kind, the goodness, any kind of thing that I can wrap my mind around and believe that this presence and this power through me, through my belief and my expectation of it, can express it in my life. So I just take a moment here to know that all good is mine, that the truth of me is perfect physical health in every single cell of my body, in every system, in every artery, in every vein, in every organ, in every bone, in every tendon, in every structure, that all of it is absolutely perfect and filled with the power and energy of God. And as I speak these words, I know that there is great fluidity in my body, and that my cells are right here, right now, being rearranged in perfection, because this is the truth of what they really are. I also put out there into the universe to know that whatever the desires of my heart are possible. And whether that be vibrant health, like I just was talking about, infinite abundance, fabulous new ideas, work that is just a perfect expression of my divine gifts and talents, perfect love, a life that is full of meaning and goodness in every single way. I know that I am always in the right place at the right time, attracting to me that which I desire for my life. So I just take time right now in this fluid universe that is constantly changing to put out what I desire, knowing that life can be rearranged easily, that I let go of how that's going to happen. I surrender that to this presence, this infinite power for good. I turn away from any ideas that there needs to be any illness or disease of any kind, that there is a necessity of lack or limitation of any kind, of doubt, of fear, of worry. I let go of all of that and know that I am established and connected with this perfect power for good, only desiring to express in my life in greater and greater ways. So I know that today's service is a fabulous success, that I am connected here and I'm connected to this community, and that I hear exactly what I need to hear, and that being here blesses me and moves me along in my spiritual journey of living life that is worth living. So I'm just so grateful for this. I just take this time to know that all of these words, that this is the truth of who I am. And so I just release this now with great expectation and great thanksgiving. And so it is. All right. Today, we are so happy to have and welcome back to our center, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. He is a professional educator, visual artist, performer, American Sign Language interpreter, and author. He's an ordained CSL minister and serves as the founding minister and the spiritual director of the Center for Spiritual Integrated Arts, which is a center for spiritual living teaching. Please join me in welcoming back to our center, Reverend Dr. Raymond Charles Barker. Oh my God. I kept saying that. Dr. Raymont Anderson. Boy, that's a huge thing, right? He was my teacher's teacher, and I read all his books. Oh my God. Anyway, happy to have
That's what
you.
happens when we're in the flow, right?
Yeah, Raymont Anderson. Oh my God.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Judy. So CSL Midtown, what's up? Feels like I was just there with everybody. So namaste, happy holidays, and happy blessed you. So today we're talking about this idea of, flow. And we've often said things like, be like water, go with the flow, et cetera, et cetera. We've said it, we've heard it quite often. And one of the things that I've come to realize a couple of years ago is this idea of what it means to live beyond the beyond by living what I call a trans-spiritual life, which in and of itself is what it means to embody this divinity, to embody all of this awareness, to embody spiritual principle as a way of life. And one of the things that comes up is, referencing this, be like water, go with the flow, blah, 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 is do we believe that God is all there is? Because if we believe that God is all there is, then no matter where we go, God, no matter what we do, God, no matter what we drink, God, no matter what we call on, God, no matter what, God. So this thing called flow, God, is already present. So it's not a question of, are we going with the flow? The question is, in what way are we flowing? Are we flowing in a manner that is non-life affirming? Right? Like this thing called speech. I could use words to utter great poetry. The words flow from my mind, from my heart, from my soul, from my lungs, up through my throat, across my vocal cords and out my mouth. The words flow. And in the same way that I can flow with great and beautiful poetry and compliments, I could flow with curses and insults. Well, but why? Because that which God is. The infinite law is always operational. So once again, the question isn't, are we flowing? But the question is, how are we doing so? Are we doing so? You know what? Let's pause and say this is our invitation to do so in more and more life-affirming ways. Pause and breathe. Ernest Holmes said, in dealing with this subtle power of mind and spirit, we are dealing with a fluent force. Take that word in for a second, fluent. It is forever taking form and forever deserting or abandoning or leaving one form that it has taken in order to take on another form. Dr. Holmes goes on in another place to say, spirit fills, and that's what I just said a little bit ago, God is all there is. Spirit fills all space and animates every form. That includes this Blistex, this highlighter. God animates every form. Therefore, spirit is the true actor in everything, of everything, as everything. But spirit can only act for us by acting through us and as us. God can only give us what we willingly choose to accept and act upon, what we embody. We must resolutely, determine, be convicted to see and to accept that spiritual substance is forever and ever flowing to us, flowing through us, flowing as us, as the supply for all that we need, all that we desire. Breathe. Because we're using words like, Dr. Holmes just used. Fluent, fluid, flow, blah, 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 blah. But how often do we pause to check in with, what do these words mean? So fluent, eloquent, expressive, fluid, something that flows easily, flow, to move, to proceed, etc. So in what way are we allowing that which is the divine of us to be fluent? Just like with a language. If I am fluent in a language, then I'm not going to note the difference. Someone who says, hola, como usted, hola, como, is that individual fluent? Certainly not. The goal in learning and acquiring another language is to be fluent, to allow the words, the language, the culture to flow easily and effortlessly. Do we allow God as us to flow easily and effortlessly? Or do we, now note, pause, because once again, it is flowing, always. Are we allowing it to flow? Are we embodying it to flow in a way that we desire it to flow? Because once again, if I'm sitting back and I hate my life. Oh, everything just, it's so horrible. And the country's going to hell in a handbasket. And that's too spicy. And that's too cold. And once again, the flow is occurring, but it is flowing in a non-life affirming way because all I am doing is bemoaning and complaining. But it's still the flow. And even when a riverbed has gone dry, the water is no longer flowing, but that which God is, that which life is still there. It's still flowing. The air still flows through the space. The molecules still flow through the soil. All of the insects, etc., they're still in motion. Flow, God, life itself is always flowing. So our invitation is to ask, well, if flow is the melting together of consciousness and action, the state of balance between a particular skill or activity and how challenging that activity or task is, then think about, someone like a dancer, an archer, a surfer, etc. When we are thinking about these things, there is this skill, this task, this activity. And when the person embodies the dance, there's no separation between the dancer and the dance. It is simply the dance happening. When the surfer is surfing and there's this complete oneness There is simply the activity of surfing, the demonstration of balance and motion, the expression of. This occurs with everything. So once again, our question, our invitation, how often do we allow ourselves to be confused? Dr. Holmes said, a practitioner of this science should not be confused over any given form, but should know that any form which is not of the original harmony, life affirming, is subject to change. How often do we allow ourselves to be confused? Right? Like think about what's an example? Think about, the Plato's allegory. And the people are in the cave and they're looking at the shadows, and they think the shadows that are being projected, they think they're real, and they're not. We allow ourselves to be confused by conditions, by experiences, and we think that the absence of money, I only got 2 nickels to rub together in my bank account, we all automatically say that means poverty. Well, is that poverty? Or is that simply a demonstration of a certain economic experience or condition, which can be changed? But if we confuse it, then we're going to continue to say things like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, as though it is a divine truth, and that it's not. Soren Kierkegaard said, there are 2 ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true, and the other is to refuse to believe what is true. That's a mic drop moment right there, because then we are invited once again to come back to the space and ask ourselves, in what way am I refusing to believe what is true? I mean, if we think of, we know water, and we use this water as the example of fluidity, et cetera. And you can pour water into any container, et cetera, et cetera. And do we ever get confused and think that somehow the water is that shape? Meaning that if we take the water out of it, it's going to retain the shape of what it was just in. But it's not. But we don't fool ourselves to believe that it is. As children, and we saw shadow puppets and stuff on the shadow things on the wall and all kinds of things referencing, we didn't become fooled per se. Now, as children, we believe. But as we grew older, we didn't believe that the shadows were in fact reality, even though the shadow is in fact real. But the shadow of a bunny rabbit is not a bunny rabbit. Breathe. So once again, how are we ensuring that we are not being fooled to believe in lack and scarcity as though it is a thing, a power in and of itself? To ensure that we do not believe that evil is a power and a thing unto itself. See, we can go to the movies and we can see, Cynthia Erivo in Wicked, and we don't, that's a witch. Ooh, we know that it is a character called Elphaba, portrayed by an actress called Cynthia Erivo, and series of. We don't let those things fool us. When we see the great master chocolatier Amaury Guichon, create a phoenix using chocolate as the sculpting tool, we don't see the sculpture and think, oh my goodness, it's a phoenix. We understand that it is a sculpture of, it is a representation of. We don't let these things fool us. So then why do we allow things referencing our divinity? Why do we choose to not buy into, to embody, to be convicted of the infinite flow of life? Why do we continue to combat evil? Dr. Holmes said, if we seek to combat evil, we should be very careful. Well, the very is my emphasis. We should be careful that we do not make evil real. There is a place in the mind which intuitively knows that good overcomes evil. And there is a place which knows there is no evil to overcome in the first place. Our argument then is between the experience of what we call evil and the solid conviction that good is the only reality. And when I say good, I'm saying good in the way that Emma Curtis Hopkins would say, my good is my God, and vice versa. My God is my good. Those words are interchangeable because that which God is the infinite expression of goodness itself. So what is our invitation referencing this? What is our practice in don't combat evil, and actually evil you can't overcome because like evil's not a real thing. Okay, so follow me on this. This is a Reverend Ray remix of what we just discussed. If we seek to eradicate evil, we must ask, what is the consciousness that makes a person's mental equivalence that of evil? What we call evil as a behavior while being very real is not real as a force. The devil, etc., demons is not a real force that is outside of our control. There is no evil, meaning no adversary, no devil that we need to overcome. Our practice then is between the experiences of evil and a solid conviction that there is good that comes from engaging in healing, which is the only reality we are invited to act from. React from the reality in the same way that physicians act when they are in the operating room. They understand this illness, this disease, but they don't act as though it is, oh my goodness, however will we? They understand there is a scientific, a medical process to address this. Are we not invited to do the same thing as meta-physicians? To see a thing and address it in consciousness. So when we see racism, sexism, homophobia, etc., let us ask, what is the dis-ease when we see these things? And when we understand, well, what is the dis-ease? What is the flow of non-life affirming demonstration of consciousness, which then our invitation is, well, what will heal that? What created racism as a consciousness? What will heal it? What created poverty as a consciousness? What will heal it? This is already flowing for many. If this is not life affirming, then let us go to our Declaration of Principles, where we understand as a practice, we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom or emancipation from, liberation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. See, we have these as action steps that we are invited to take in and embody, to flow with, in order to shift and change conditions, to change one form, poverty, into another form, abundance. And I'm not talking abundance like Elon Musk, who makes $17 million an hour, because that form of abundance is corruption and hurts people. I'm talking about abundance where this person realizes they have more than enough food. They have more than enough of what they need because we are a demonstration of an infinite universal power. So rather than flowing with this, the woe is me, let's flow with the, oh, it is me. Two different ways that we can flow. Dr. Holmes invites us, he says, the highest consciousness is not one of possession, hoarding things and getting more things, green lights and parking spaces. It is not one of possession, but it is one of being. The greater your consciousness of being, the more automatically will the law flow from this consciousness into the acquisition of the things that you need and the things you desire. Because when we are flowing from that space, the manner in which I desire and need could never detract from or somehow reduce the amount that Judy needs or desires and her ability to have it, or Vance to have it, or Diego to have it. Because when we are operating from this space of being, that which God is, there is more than enough God for all. But when we believe that the highest consciousness is one of got to get more, got to get more, got to get more, so they don't have, get more, so they don't have, get more. I want my grass to be greener than their grass. Why? Why engage in the flow of competition to the degree where it is now non-life affirming, where it is harmful to another? See, this idea of the consciousness of being, you know, we understand in the Bible, Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am awake. As the Buddha said, I am awake and ever awakening to my divine self. Be still. Do not struggle or try to exert your human will in order to move in life. Flow and know who and what you are and live by being what you know yourself to be. Breathe. Because this is a huge call to action. And I invite you to come back and review the slides and images and quotes and sit with them in meditation. Breathe. Because this is a lot to ask. To know that you are God and be it and show up as it. To allow the infinite flow. There is only one life to flow in, through, and as you, without having any of the indoctrinated obstacles. Emerson said, there are no fixtures in nature. The universe is fluid and volatile, meaning combustive and explosive, and permanence is but a word of degrees. Our world, seen by God, is transparent law, not a mass of facts. The law dissolves the fact, and once again, holds it fluid. Once again, this is simply inviting us to understand that change is inevitable. Change is the nature of, impermanence is the nature of the divine. Being in a space of, I understand this, being in a space of, I operate within this, gives us greater power to show up in our lives as the divinely magnificent beings we are, God showing up, incarnating itself as us. You know, Buckminster Fuller said, there is nothing when you look at a caterpillar, there is nothing when you look at the caterpillar that says, that's going to turn into a butterfly. There is absolutely no evidence of that. And yet, the divine impulse of creation, it's already there. Well before that form takes place. Is the form of peace on earth, goodwill to all already here? It just has not manifested as that form in the same way that the butterfly is already in the form of the caterpillar. It's already there. It simply must metamorph into the new form. Fluid flow. You get the drift. The things, a world that works for all. Is it already here? Yes. It simply needs each of us to do what we need to do to go into the cocoon of spirit, still being what we are, to transform and metamorph into a new, open at the top, being who knows who and what they are. Joel Goldsmith said, God expresses God, and that expression appears as you. Dr. Holmes said, for the highest God and the innermost God is one God and not two. Meister Eckhart said, and you've heard me say this one before, between me and God, there is no between. Dr. Holmes, the life within you is God. Whatever is true of God is true of your life, since your life and the life that is God are not two, but one. And lastly, Dr. Holmes invites us, for the only God you and I will ever know is the one that we embody. Never forget that. Never be fooled to believe something else. And so when Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world, in fact, it's the only thing that ever has. Breathe that in. It's the only thing that ever has. Are we thoughtful to that degree? Are we being to that degree? Are we acting from that being to that degree to change and transform the very scope of the current forms and conditions and experiences? There's war happening in various places on this planet. Do we accept that? Or are we willing to be that thoughtful group of individuals who come together of like mind, of like consciousness, in the infinite flow of a life-affirming goodness that is wholeness, perfection, and completeness, individualizing itself as each one of us? And because we know that, we act on that knowing, and we change the world. Breathe. And so as we get ready to close, I simply offer you this. Everything that you read in the Science of Mind textbook, every time you read the name God, source, spirit, the thing itself, etc., insert your name and simply be present to how does it feel to know that that power and you are synonymous, because there is only that which it is, and it is showing up in, through, and as all that is. Be it and flow. Namaste. Blessings.
Wow. Thank you so much. What a beautiful talk, inspiring to the limits. Oh, appreciate it. Woe is me. Oh, it is me. I love it. All right. Now we come to the time of our service where we give back as we are able to this spiritual community. If this is where you get your spiritual nourishment, please consider supporting us in a way that feels right for you. Please join me in our affirmation for prosperity. You can donate at our website, cslmidtown.org, or use the QR code. Let's do the affirmation of prosperity. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me, multiplied abundantly, and so it is. All right. Thank you again for being with us today, for joining us, and for listening to this broadcast. Please remember that if you liked what you heard, to share our link on your social media. Also, I wanted to just say that every Sunday at 10 a.m., we have an adult study group that meets on Zoom. And our group is currently studying the Science of Mind textbook. So please feel free to check that out some Sunday. It's a very thought-provoking, very interesting discussion. We are pleased, our community is pleased to be able to continue providing the excellent Sunday speakers from really all over the country. Really enjoyed hearing all of these messages, and Dr. Ray is one of our regulars, and he's fabulous. We hope that you will tell your friends about our great speakers and encourage them to join us. The first Sunday of the month, we do meet in person at the Garden Hills Recreation Center, and we have always followed by a potluck. So we invite you to join that the first Sunday in January. Our speaker next Sunday will be Reverend Dr. Ron Fox. He will continue the monthly theme of Sticking the Landing. And also, I invite you after this service to please join us on the Zoom link found at cslmidtown.org, because we'll have a brief question and answer discussion, say, hey, how you doing, time with Dr. Ray, and that's always really fun. So we invite you to join us there. If you're a person who really values this teaching in your life, know that our center is continuing to work towards having a senior minister again. There's a lot of steps to take there, and that we are in the process of working towards that. And so we just want to assure you of that. This concludes our service. If you'll please join me now in the closing affirmation for life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me, and so it is. Hope to see you over on the Zoom with Dr. Ray. Bye. See y'all next week. Thanks again for coming.